And good evening, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Welcome to another episode of Steelers Friday Night Six Pack. I am your host, as always, Tony Defio, and I thank you for joining me on this very cold and frigid Friday evening in Pittsburgh. And since it's January 7th, as I'm streaming this podcast, it's probably pretty cold wherever you are, too. And if it's not, lucky you. I hope you're in Florida, California, somewhere where it's nice and pleasant and not as cold as it was on Friday, that's for sure. And before I continue with tonight's show, I'd like to please encourage you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel where we bring you live shows each and every day and night, including this show. We have The Hangover the day after every Steelers game with Brian Anthony Davis, Shannon White, and yours truly. We have The Scobro Show with Dave Schofield and Rich Schofield. We have Know Your Enemy with Jeffrey Benedict and Michael Beck. We have the Touchdown Under Show with Matty Peverall and Mark Davidson. We have Steelers Preview with Jeff Hartman, Brian, and Dave. We have the Postgame Show with Jeff, Brian, and Dave. And of course, you can catch all those shows on Facebook Live as well. And if you're watching me on Facebook right now, you see my hair is all I have had hair from being out in the cold all day. So you can catch all those shows on Facebook, and you can catch all of our live shows after the fact on any audio platform of your choosing. I prefer iHeartRadio, but there's Spotify. There's so many you can choose from. And of course, we have a whole platform of audio-only shows, including the Stat Geek, the Live Mic, Let's Ride, the War Room, What Yin's Talking About, From the Cutting Room Floor. Please check those out. You can catch those on any audio platform. And please check out Behind the Store Curtain, the website. We bring you news, commentary, film breakdown, anything Steelers related. We're one of the first sites to bring it to you. It's your one-stop shop for all your Steelers needs. And let's check out the live chat, see what we have going on in the live chat. Who's with us tonight on this frigid night? Jared Devil, first one in. I think Jared Devil is the overall leader, first one in, if that's the correct grammar. Kathy Forred, Steelers Pittsburgh, Tyler W., George Teston, Brian Brown, Ryan O'Toole, Just Me, Jacob Winter, Pedro Alamagar, hope I said that right, and Dill Whittet. All right, so let's talk about our Steelers. They have Sorry, I got muted again. I don't know why that keeps happening. As I was saying, can you hear me out there? Now I'm distracted. Where was I? Let's talk about Ben's glorious night. People are telling me to keep my hands off stuff. I'm not touching anything. I don't know why I keep muting myself. I don't know what's going on. All right, that was bad radio. It was bad radio because of the technical difficulties. Anyway, it was a magical night, and not because of the game. The game was pretty blah, really. I mean, it was a great defensive effort, but there was nothing really aesthetically pleasing about the Steelers' 26-14 win over the Browns at Heinz Field. It was your typical offensive struggle. It was a great defensive effort. The defense recorded 9 sacks. They pretty much kept the Browns running game in check. As the ESPN Monday Night Crew bemoaned all night, I don't know why Cleveland went away from the run so much, given Pittsburgh's struggles in stopping it in 2021. But since the Browns were out of it, they were officially eliminated. Maybe they were just trying to get get Baker Mayfield some confidence heading into the offseason. Who knows? I mean, it just didn't make any sense. But maybe had they tried to run, maybe they wouldn't have been able to do a good job, because the front seven, missing Devin Bush, missing Joe Schobert, I think too. They held strong. Latavius Adams played a great game filling in. Of course, Cam Hayward played an extraordinary game, as always. But what about TJ Watt? Wow. 4 sacks. He's 1 away from tying Michael Strahan's all-time record. You can argue that it's going to take him an extra game, but to possibly break or tie Strahan's record. But you could also say he missed so much time in 2021 with injuries that it's kind of a wash. So the defense played great. Offense, not so much. But it was history. It was historical. It was something you don't see very often if you're a fan of any team. If you're somebody like me, it reminded, somebody my age, I should say, it reminded me of Chuck Noll's final 2 home games in 1991. He played the Bengals, defeated them. I think both scores were 17-10. The Bengals and the Browns. Chillingly enough, maybe ironically enough, Noll's last game was against Bill Belichick, who was the Browns coach at that time. And I say chillingly, or if that's even a word, because Belichick, of course, went on to have maybe the greatest coaching career ever. And when Noll retired, he was the winningest Super Bowl head coach of all time. Of course, now Belichick is with 6. So that was kind of almost eerie that those two faced off in Noll's final game. But that's what this past Monday reminded me of. And I've said this before. When I was growing up in the 80s, I couldn't imagine anybody else coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers. How would they ever be able to replace Chuck Noll, the Emperor? He was such a larger-than-life figure. He was Pittsburgh Steelers. He was the face of the franchise, even though he didn't like the limelight. He was the face of the franchise. He was really, along with Dan Rooney, the key figure that turned the Steelers from a sad sack franchise into NFL royalty, really. One of the marquee teams in all of professional and collegiate sports. So when he left, and, it wasn't official when that game against the Browns ended in late 91, but it was pretty much assumed that he was done. And, of course, on Monday night, Roethlisberger took it a step further. I mean, he made it obvious that was it for him. He said goodbye to all the fans. He shed a few tears. And really, I think in a lot of ways it made sitting through this pretty putrid offense all year long, with Roethlisberger coming back and a new offensive coordinator, a pretty much a brand new offensive line, and the struggles that they all endured in 2021. I think it made it all worth it to see Roethlisberger get the farewell treatment that he did, to see him get the send-off he did, to see the fan, or to hear the fans pour out their love for number 7, a guy who's always been really underappreciated nationally. I mean, everybody knows he's a great quarterback, but he's always been underappreciated. I was shocked to learn, I don't know why I didn't know this already, that Roethlisberger was never a first-team All-Pro his entire career. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's played 18 years, been to 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them. What's close to, I don't even, over 60,000 yards. I mean, they posted the stats all throughout the game on Monday. So for him never to be a first-team All-Pro, I mean, yeah, obviously there were a lot of great quarterbacks that were in the NFL when Ben was in his prime, including Peyton Manning and obviously Brady and those guys. But still, you would think that Roethlisberger would at least earn one first-team All-Pro honor, but he never did. But for as much as he's been underappreciated, I think nationally and somewhat locally too, you might say, I think the fans really came through on Monday with their love and support for Ben, because I think they know, Steeler fans, Dan Rooney said it years ago, they know their football, right? And for as much as we act silly on the internet and maybe have irrational takes, deep down we know our football, and we know that things are never going to be the same without Ben, at least not for a while. We know how hard it is to find a quarterback of that caliber. So we know what it means to when a player of that stature, a quarterback of that stature, decides to move on with his life's work or get on with his life's work. So, I think that was all part of the send off. And I think we all know, and all the fans know, that he was the missing piece. He was the reason why we can say got 6, that we can wear that T-shirt. We can boast about the 6 Super Bowls. The Patriots might have tied the Steelers, but they just tied them. They didn't break that record. And it just shows you how hard it is to get many Super Bowls. So it was fitting to see. And speaking of that, I have a $5 super chat from Ryan O'Toole. And he says, touching send-off for Ben. Does TJ set a sack record this week? Stay warm. I think TJ sets a sack record this week. And thank you for the $5, Ryan. And it was a touching send-off, as I just said. It was historic. Like I said a few minutes ago, it was something that as a fan of NFL films, I grew up on NFL films. I cut my teeth on the NFL thanks to NFL films. I'm not an X's and O's guy, but I love the history of the game. I love the theater. I love the drama. I love the suspense. I love going back and rewatching, NFL films, features on the Ice Bowl, features on the 70s, the America's Game features, all the teams, not just the Steelers. I love watching all those old Super Bowl years, the Cowboys, the Raiders, Washington, the 49ers, even the Patriots. I love going back and just so to see a moment like that live. You grow up and you watch NFL films and you see Bart Starr getting a send off at Lambeau Field back in the early 70s. You see Joe Namath getting a send off. You see Len Dawson, all these great players, and not just quarterbacks either, but other positions. And to see that live, that was an extraordinary thing. So I was really grateful to witness it, and I soaked it all in. I took it all in. I'm not an emotional person, really. I mean, I don't really cry. I don't shed tears of joy. I sometimes I said shed tears of anxiety and stress, but I'm not somebody who gets overly emotional. But I did take that all in. I did make sure I sat there and watched every last second of Roethlisberger's final moments as a football competitor for the Steelers at Heinz Field. So in many ways, even though he came along a few years after Heinz Field, in many ways, he's the guy who built Heinz Field, or he made it into the magical place it has been for so many all these years. So, thanks for everything, Roethlisberger. Thanks for everything, Big Ben. It was we still have one game to go, but since it's been such a big week for talking number 7. It's just, I'll always be grateful for what you did for the Steelers. Growing up in the 80s and coming along as a fan after those super 70 years, it was rough. I mean, it was fun. I mean, you're a kid watching sports. It's never that rough, but I always want to see them get over that hump and win one for the thumb. And the 80s, they were really not equipped to do that. The 90s, they were equipped, but they just could never quite get there. They couldn't reach the promised land. And one thing they were missing was that quarterback. And that problem reared its ugly head again in 01 and 02. But by the time Ben Roethlisberger came along, it was clear that he was the missing piece, and it was just a matter of time before he got them to the top of the mountain once again. And he did that in the second year. I mean, obviously he had help. It was a great team that he joined, but I don't think they would have won without him. As good as that team was on offense and defense, that core group of the from 04 through 2010, that made it to those 3 Super Bowls. As great as that team was, they weren't going to get over the hump without Ben. So I'll always be appreciative. I'll always be grateful. I'll always be thankful. He'll always be one of my favorite Steelers. And, you can make a great argument that he's the greatest Steeler who's ever lived. So that's pretty much all I want to say about Ben. And now I'll transition to some talk about other parts of the game. Like, hey, how about that offensive line? It really showed out on Monday. It really wasn't even the line we saw at the beginning of the year. You had J.C. Hassenauer in there at center. You had LeGlue. I think he was playing, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, they really, in many ways, played their best game of the year. I mean, certainly Dan Moore did a great job protecting Ben's blind side by blocking Myles Garrett the whole game. I mean, I'm sure he had some help, but he did a good job. And I'm really becoming a huge Dan Moore Jr. fan. I think he's a neat story. People bemoan the line. Why didn't you do more about the line? Why didn't you do more to rebuild the line? Yet, they drafted 2 guys and fairly high, and they're both us, or at least they were up until last Sunday. They were both starting the entire year. Kendrick Green, I guess he's been benched. He's struggled. There's no question. He's taken his lumps. But Dan Moore has, to me, had a great rookie year at left tackle. He hasn't been perfect, but for him to remain in the lineup all year, I think that speaks volumes to his abilities and what they think of him. So hopefully Kendrick Green can weather this storm of a rookie season and take a leap forward. If not this year, maybe this offseason he adds some strength to that frame, and he's certainly aggressive enough. He has the disposition for it. He has that mean streak. He has that aggressive streak that you're looking for. But maybe he just doesn't have the size right now, and maybe he needs to go out and hire a good trainer, personal trainer, and transition his body. We've seen it a lot over the years with young athletes. After the rookie year, they realize what they have to do to make it at the professional level, and they dedicate themselves. We saw it with Alex Highsmith this past offseason. He really transformed his body. Zach Gentry looks different, completely different than he did his rookie year. So, maybe it's Kendrick Green's turn to dedicate himself to getting in the best possible shape to be an NFL center or a guard. Who knows? But, I'm excited about this line again. If Kendrick Green can't make it as a center and J.C. Hassenauer does, hey, he's a youngster too. To me, it's all about finding the right combination, the right starting five, and to me, that's all I'm worried about. Whoever it is, Kevin Dotson, he's been out, but he'll be back next year anyway. But they played a great game on Monday, and the running game was the best I think we've seen all year. Najee Harris, 188 yards on 28 carries. He had the big run at the end to put the game away to guarantee a great send-off, a great home send-off for Big Ben. So that was great to see. And to me, again, I don't know how, after all this time, nearly a year now since he was drafted, I don't know how anybody can deny that Najee Harris was the right pick for the Steelers. Has anybody had more touches in the NFL than him in his rookie year? I don't think so. So Najee is clearly going to be a great Steeler, and moving forward, he's going to be the key ingredient, and he's going to be the main cog in that offense. He's going to be the player that the offense is built around. He's going to be the reason why it succeeds or fails, because it's probably going to be a while before they find another great quarterback. When I say a while, I don't mean 20 years, but the next year or two are probably going to be big question marks for the Steelers as far as the quarterback position is concerned. So they're going to need somebody to carry that offense. So, I think starting next year, Najee Harris might be the most important or critical member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, even more so than T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt's about to break the single-season sack record, and they might not even make the playoffs. So I think it just shows you how important offense is in today's NFL. And I don't know how long Najee Harris is going to be a bell cow running back, but he's definitely going to be one for the next several years anyway. So it's going to quickly transition from Big Ben to Najee as far as what makes the Steelers go, who stirs the drink for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it was encouraging to see Harris's performance on Monday, and boy, does that guy run hard, and he never stops moving the pile. It's amazing. So I was really encouraged by lots of things on Monday. The overall performance, not so much, but individual performances like Najee Harris and, of course, T.J. Watt and Adams and Dan Moore and those guys. So we can't kid ourselves. 2021 was always going to be kind of a bridge year, even with Ben coming back for one more year. I think the combination of everything, from him being 39 years old to a new offensive coordinator, a new line coach who is now gone, Adrian Clem. So two different line coaches, a brand new line, a rookie running back, a rookie tight end. It was always going to be a bit iffy that the Steelers were going to be true contenders. So, the fact that they've managed to win more games than they've lost up to this point is kind of amazing when you consider how they've struggled pretty much all year. And you look at their stats; it's amazing they're 8-7-1. So, with that in mind, that takes me to my next topic, and that is the Steelers' playoff chances with one game left. They travel to Baltimore this Sunday to take on the Ravens. The Ravens are already eliminated, I believe. Yes, they're eliminated. So, Lamar Jackson's officially out. Tyler Huntley will be the quarterback. So I think you have to like the Steelers' chances of winning. They've defeated the Ravens, 3 times in a row anyway. So you have to like their chances at number 4. And I feel good about Sunday's game as far as Pittsburgh finding a way to win. It's not going to be It's not going to be pretty. It never is when these two teams play each other anyway, but no game has been pretty for the Steelers in 2021. The prettiest part of the year came after last Monday's game with the farewell to Ben. So it's not going to be a pretty game, but I like their chances of pulling out a win. But the bigger question is, will they get the help they need, specifically from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have to beat the Indy Colts in Jacksonville. I believe the game's in Jacksonville. Yeah, it's in Jacksonville. So at least they have that going for them. And if that happens, and provided the Raiders and Chargers don't end in a tie, your Steelers will make the playoffs as the final seed in the AFC. Wouldn't that be amazing? And, you know, I'm happy with the fact that they're still alive for the playoffs. The chances are slim, but they're still alive. Because I think you have to be more understanding of this year's team as far as its struggles than some previous incarnations of your Steelers who went into the final week needing help. Specifically the 2018 team that essentially collapsed down the stretch and blew a 2.5 game lead in the AFC North with 6 weeks left. And coming into the final Sunday, they needed to defeat the Bengals, which they barely did. And then they needed the lowly Browns at the time to defeat the Ravens in Baltimore. And it almost happened, but it didn't happen. And, you know, sometimes you reap what you sow. If you blow as many games as they did down the stretch that year, then you only have yourself to blame when you don't make the playoffs, when you don't get the help you need. A couple years ago, I don't really fault them for that year either because they were missing Ben for all but 6 quarters of the 2019 season. You had Duck Hodges, you had Mason Rudolph as your quarterback, so it was a struggle. But they did have an 8-5 record at one point, and they kind of collapsed again at the end. And going into the final week, they needed to beat the Ravens, and they needed the Texans, who had clinched the AFC South, to give a darn and defeat the Titans, who were win and you're in mode. And of course, the Texans didn't care, and they rested all of their starters. And the Steelers lost anyway, but even had they won, the Titans would have gotten in. So, and the Titans were a better team that year, and they almost made it to the Super Bowl. So, I think the best team got in. This year, I think it's more of I think they're playing with house money at this point. Or maybe is that the right term, house money? I don't know. But if they make the playoffs, it'll be a pleasant surprise. Because I don't really think they could do much damage in the playoffs. As far as I understand it, as the 7th seed, they'll probably have to play the Chiefs, maybe the Bengals. Both teams kicked their butts this year, so I don't know how excited I'd be about a playoff matchup against either one of those teams. I'd like to spend the whole week dreaming about the possibilities of an upset, but still, I don't know how I would like their chances. If they played the Titans, which I guess would still be a possibility, I would like that matchup a little bit more. But anyway, I think just the fact that they're alive for the playoffs right now is a good thing. And if they make it, it's a bonus as far as I'm concerned. So, do I think the Jaguars can defeat the Colts? Probably not. And but stranger things have happened. And if you look at their recent history, they've needed help on the final week. What now? Let's see. 2015, 2018, 2019. This will be the 4th time since 2015 that they've needed help in the final week. Actually, the 5th time since 2013. And it's only happened once. That was back in 2015 when Rex Ryan and his Bills knocked off his old team, the Jets. So I guess you might say that the Steelers are due. They're due for to get the help they need. So who knows? Maybe it'll happen this weekend. Wouldn't that be something? So that's pretty much all I have for tonight. I'm not gonna lie. I've been working all day, so I'm a bit out of sorts. I don't think I have it tonight as far as the show is concerned, but I got to this point. I'm happy about that. So now I will take your questions and comments. And look, we have Mark Malone is with us tonight. Mark Malone says, "Hey now, all right," or at least that was 15 minutes ago. So how you doing, Mark? Speaking of the 80s, he was a big part of the Steelers in the 80s. Mark Malone. So hello to him, if that is the real Mark Malone, anyway. Ron Chess, who joins us, and he says, "Tony, I'm late. I was shopping. It's cold in Pittsburgh today. Snow first snowstorm. Go Steelers. Tony, you're right. Reduced cap. Did best they could. The O-line could use a cap fix. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna invest a whole lot in the line. Maybe they're gonna go out and sign somebody to play right tackle, because I think left tackle, I think they have to be excited about Dan Moore's future. And of course, you have Kevin Dotson at left guard. Maybe they move on from Trey Turner after this year, who's a solid vet, and maybe upgrade at right guard and try to find the next David DeCastro. Who knows? Center, that might be a place where they look. They might consider the Kendrick Green experiment at center a failure, maybe a permanent one. Who knows? I don't think they will. I think they're gonna give him every opportunity to get past his rookie struggles and improve by a second year. Because I think they drafted him in the 3rd round, so I don't see them giving up on him anytime soon. I think maybe the one place where there is room other than right tackle for an upgrade in free agency, maybe right tackle with I think they're going to probably move on from Shooks. Zach Banner is a huge unknown. After all this time, he's still a major unknown. He's barely played he's barely played on the line up to this point in his career, which is kind of amazing. I mean, at least as a Steeler anyway. So maybe they'll go out and try to get a right tackle. Who knows? Excuse me. And Just Me says Steelers have 6 ways to win a playoff spot. As far as I know, the only way that they get in is if the Colts lose and the Raiders and Chargers don't tie, and they win, of course. I don't think there's any other scenario unless I'm totally out of the loop. And Steelers Pittsburgh says Wentz, meaning Carson Wentz, the Colts quarterback, has not thrown an interception on the road this year. Now he's having a pretty good bounce back year. Ryan O'Toole says, guys, have you seen the latest on AB? Holy bleep. Yes, AB is being AB again. And, you saw his antics last Sunday where he basically undressed on the field and did his own little victory lap as he ran off the field, or his own farewell lap, I should say, as he ran off the field in New York as the Buccaneers were playing the Jets. So, Brown has now burned his bridges with the Steelers, the Raiders, the Patriots, kind of, although I think they moved on from him because of the PR, everything that came out from him about him personally right after he signed with the Patriots, and now the Buccaneers. And for all the criticism that Mike Tomlin has faced about enabling Brown, so to speak, I think he should be commended for getting as much as he did out of him for as long as he did, because nobody else, including Tom Brady, has been able to keep Brown in check for very long since he left Pittsburgh. So, when you talk about 6th round picks and being underdog stories, I think Antonio Brown is a great example of somebody who probably was a 6th round pick, not because he was an underdog, but because he was a problem child and everybody knew it, and that's why people avoided him. I think if Brown was a draft prospect in 2022 instead of 2010, more would have come out about him because of social media and everybody and their mother analyzing the draft and following the draft. I think we would have heard more about Brown's demons today than we did back in 2010. So when you look at a player like Brown, it was clear that he always had talent, and there's probably no way he should have been drafted where he was. So it was probably the off the field personality issues. You're same with Aaron Rodgers. You look at Aaron Rodgers compared to Alex Smith. It's clear who the better quarterback is. The more talented quarterback has always been. So for Rodgers to go from possibly being the top pick in the 2004 draft or no, 2005 draft, I should say, for him to go from possibly being the number one pick to falling to the 30th spot. And I realized there were a lot of teams that didn't need quarterbacks, but still for the 49ers to choose Smith over Rodgers. Looking back on it, I think, Rodgers, he's a great quarterback. I love Aaron Rodgers, but he's obviously always been a huge diva. So, when you see players of that caliber and you go back and you look at their draft status, you're like, wow, why'd that happen? Sometimes it's because they're hard to deal with. So, yeah. Holy bleep indeed, Antonio Brown. He is very, he needs help. There's no question. There's no other way to say it. Antonio Brown has mental issues and emotional issues, and let's just hope he gets the help he needs before it's too late, because he's heading for a very tragic ending that we're going to be chronicling on some NFL film show years down the road, unfortunately. That's where Antonio Brown is headed, and it's a shame. But only he can only get the help he needs if he wants to get it. So best of luck to him. And here's Ron Chess, who just he probably jinxed Najee. He says, hope TJ Watt gets sack record, Najee all those touches, no fumbles. That's right. That's all seriousness, all kidding aside, for a rookie running back to have as many touches, both as a runner and as a receiver out of the backfield, or as being split out wide, for him to have as many touches as he's had this year and not fumble once, that's amazing. Hopefully we don't jinx him, knock on wood. As far as TJ Watt, I hope he gets the record. I really do. And if he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year this year, he's never going to win it. I mean, it's just never going to happen. So, but that kind of hardware is nice. Obviously, it's great to be named Defensive Player of the Year. If you look back in Steelers history, how many truly great defenders have won that award? Troy Polamalu, James Harrison, Rob Woodson, Jack Lambert, Joe Green. I think Mel Blount won it one year. So he would join select company. But the way he is getting after the quarterback, I mean, he's on his way to being one of the best pass rushers who's ever played in the NFL. Mike Tomlin mentioned it at his press conference the other day. His pass rush rate as far as success is just off the charts. When you look at his opportunities compared to how productive he is as far as sacking the quarterback and hitting the quarterback, pressuring the quarterback, the guy's just amazing. So speaking of players who lasted longer than they should have in the draft, there were no personality issues with TJ Watt as far as I know. He was a converted tight end who had not played the position that long at Wisconsin, outside linebacker. So that was probably one of the reasons why he fell to where he did. But, if they redrafted the 2017 draft, I mean, Watt doesn't make it out of the top 5, maybe number 1 overall. So it's just an extraordinary People they like to talk about the failures with Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin with the draft, but T.J. Watt was a home run, and speaking of all-time Steeler greats, he's probably gonna be one by the time he's done as a Steeler. So let's see what else we have here. Heather McElroy Harris, pessimistic. That's me. I guess she's talking about me. No faith in miracles. The odds were against David too when he took on Goliath. I believe anything is possible. Love them Steelers to the bitter end. I don't hear any fat lady singing "Go Go Steelers." Well, that's a very well written comment. I like your enthusiasm. I hope there is a miracle. Believe me, I hope I get to spend the whole week talking about a Steelers playoff game. I hope I get to talk about it with Brian and Shannon on Monday. I hope I get to talk about it next Friday night with you guys on this show. I just, the odds are long. That's just all there is to it. It's about the math. But the good thing is they still have a chance. And here we are. Another year in which Mike Tomlin's team not only doesn't have a losing record, but remains in the playoff run or the playoff hunt all the way until the final week. They've only been out of the playoff race by the final week once since Mike Tomlin's been head coach. So, you can say what you want about that record. A lot of people, for as many people who love the run of non-losing seasons for Mike Tomlin, there's almost as many people that hate talking about that stat. But it does speak to his overall abilities as a head coach, whether you want to admit it or not. It's amazing that no matter what's going on with this team, no matter what they're going through as far as injuries, all the way up to Roethlisberger a couple years ago, to their overall roster as far as, the makeup of it. 2013, we saw that. We kind of saw it again this year. Not a great roster. They always remain in the hunt. So that speaks to his abilities to communicate and to be a strong communicator, because it'd be very easy to give up hope if you're the Steelers and you're struggling week in and week out on offense and you can't seem to get out of your own way on that side of the ball. You have all these injuries on defense, Stephon Tuitt, obviously Alou, and Hayden missed several games. Bush has struggled. It had been very easy to just throw in the towel and say, let's just get ready for the off season and a nice vacation. But no, they've hung in it to the very end. And you have to give them credit, the players, but you also have to give the guy in charge, and that's Tomlin, credit. He's clearly the leader of that team. You can question his coaching abilities all you want, but he's clearly the man in Steelerland, outside of Ben, of course. But Mike Tomlin is the leader of men that everybody says he is. So I'm looking forward to this Sunday and seeing what the Steelers can do against Baltimore, and seeing what the Jaguars can do against the Colts. And hope, if that all works out, I'll be hoping that the Raiders and Chargers don't make some kind of deal where they just both kneel on the ball all game and settle for a tie so they both make the playoffs. That would be that would set the NFL back like 30 years, so it probably wouldn't happen, but you never know. With that in mind, I think I'm going to call it a night. I am very sleepy, and I had fun with you guys, and I can't wait to talk to you again on Monday on The Hangover with Brian and Shannon. Until then, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy that final Steelers game, regular season game, I should say, and hopefully everything works out and that miracle happens, and the Steelers are in the playoffs after this Sunday. Until I see you guys again, Have a great weekend and go Steelers.